All right. Good afternoon, and I hope the energy levels are still high. That was hear it. Awesome. I'm telling you, you are going to go on a nice journey now with the next speaker. The energy levels are only going to go up, right? So I'm very excited to introduce our next speaker. We've had a full day, and we've examined all the challenges and the opportunities facing manufacturers, the real benefits of connected workforce, of course, the potential of agentic AI. We spoke so much about what AI can do, what is available now, how it can transform manufacturing. So now it's time to click into that a bit further. And while we've been talking from a perspective of software and how we build software for manufacturers, you heard from manufacturers themselves and how they use software to enable themselves. Now, our next speaker is going to share a perspective, at what changes companies are looking at as they look at the maturity of AI solutions. What is their impact on profit? What is their impact on productivity, competitiveness? And when they focus on speed as a strategy, and how do they enable that? So you've heard that from us, but I would like you to hear it from a globally recognized expert. He is a person who's well-versed with the IT industry. He's an expert speaking at Bloomberg, CNBC, the Wall Street Journal, BBC, and many others are calling on for his commentary, and whose company is a source of advice and counsel to CIOs, to CEOs, companies of all sizes, and in nearly every industrial sector. So, as an industry analyst, he's covered ERP for more than 25 years, and let's take a look first.
All right, Ray Wang is with us. He's our tech guy.
We want to bring in Constellation Research principal analyst and founder, Ray Wang. Ray, it's great to see you here. So lots to unpack.
Tech. We can bring in Ray Wang, founder of the tech advisory firm Constellation Research.
Ray Wang is with us.
So please join me in welcoming the founder, the chairman, and the principal analyst of Constellation Research, Ray Wang. How you doing, brother?
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Good morning, good afternoon. How are you guys doing? You guys awake? Awesome. We're going to spend some time talking about why we're putting AI in, not because of the technology, but because of a few concepts. But I want to take a historical view and look back as to what was going on. So I'm going to put something up here that's really important to think about, which is really the fact that companies that are driving AI are getting a 10-to-1 advantage. Now, you've seen all those reports. So-and-so 95% of AI projects fail, none of these projects are working. That's because they didn't have the right product and they didn't have the right team. And you'll see more about that. But let's take a historical look at where AI can play a role by looking at a technology from way, way back. So I got this up here. I want audience participation. What are we looking at here? Yell it out. A steam engine. Okay, who else? A still? Maybe. Close. Anyone else? You guys ready? And count to 3. 3, 2, 1. Artificial refrigeration. It was going to change the world. It's going to change healthcare. It's going to change customer experience. Supply chains are about to be transformed. Commercialization happened in the 20s. It took a little bit longer than they thought. And then a few companies showed up. Who on this list was the winner? How many people say Carrier? Raise your hands. How many people say GE? Raise your hands. How many people say Kelvinator? Anybody remember those? What about Frigidaire? What about the New Leonard Electric Company? Anyone heard this one before? All right, well, the winner wasn't any one of these. The winner was a company that put artificial refrigeration into use, a company that made that part of their business model in every aspect of what they did. Coca-Cola. Make sense? They used it, they embraced it, they put it into everything they did. This is where we are. We're in between those. And in fact, the first movers who move into AI, and we're just at the first inning, are the ones that are going to succeed. We've been through this. We've seen this journey. We've gone through digitization through the internet, and now we're going through digitization with automation and decisions on the other end. This is what the AI age is about. It's not about more technology. It's about getting to a concept of decision velocity. Now, it looks a little different right now because in the internet age, things were open. There were lots of players. It was decentralized. Prices came down. But because we're just at the beginning of the AI age, it looks centralized. A few players, not a lot of price changes. And more importantly, we haven't seen all those players play that role. But we're about to see that happen. And why? Because we're in an era where we're going to see a lot of AI arbitrage, and it's happening with agents. Companies are getting 10x, 100x, 1000x scale, and of course, we're asking ourselves, what is the purpose of humanity? Where do we go? How do we actually build the right investment levels with AI and ROI? And will people have their own agents? And the answer is yes. In fact, last year, well, maybe last year, January, at the beginning of the year, I had a chance to speak to GE Appliances. And I was with Kevin Nolan, the CEO of GE Appliances, and he said to his audience, everybody in this room is going to be using AI by the end of the year. And he was right. You have it on the factory floor with computer vision, checking quality. You have it in product design and development, where they're actually figuring out how to do simulations and digital twins. You had it in marketing, where they were doing global campaigns that used to take 6 months, now take 6 weeks. That is the scale. And in fact, what we're doing is we're trying to beat the problem we have with traditional enterprise software. This is a great quote from a CFO. You can read it yourself. Think about this. With volume and time, everything goes down in cost except, interesting. And we're about to change that. We're about to shift that, and this is where AI is heading. Now, what's going on? What are these big business teams we've been going through? Who's experienced margin compression? We've all have. It's been pretty bad. Anyone figure out how to get flywheels of growth yet? No? You guys are laughing? Okay. Have you differentiated through customer experience? Or you're too busy trying to keep the lights on? Our goal here is to free up our opportunities so we can actually focus on the customer with AI. And more importantly, we want to be able to use it for safety. We want to use it for regulatory. All the things that we don't want to do, because we're about to enter a world what I call exponential efficiency. And this is happening. And the question is, how do we get there and how do we succeed? Well, we're going to do it through agents, and you're going to see that all across the board. Let me give you the 10x rule, and this is very important. This is just the beginning of the acceleration you're going to see in the marketplace. NASA puts a rocket up, but SpaceX can deliver it for 1/10 the cost. Who can deliver it for 1/10 the cost of SpaceX? Anybody? The Indian Space Agency. That's 1/100th the cost of what NASA can deliver. We have Tomahawk missiles that go out for $2 million apiece, but drones are $20,000 or even $2,000. See that scale? We have financial transactions where we pay $45 or $35 for a wire. We pay $1.50 for ACH. And in India and Brazil, how much do you pay to transfer money? 0. That's the scale we're talking about. We are in a world where it's going to be faster, better, and cheaper. And we're seeing it. It starts being 10x, 100x, and at some point 1,000x, that's going to happen. And the question is, how do you get there? You don't get there by adding more people. You get there when you deliver on agents. And we have companies that are AI natives and AI exponentials that are doing that already. Look at the scale. 20 people, 200 million in ARR. 10 people, 200 million in ARR. These companies are delivering millions of dollars per employee. Imagine if you could do that in manufacturing. That's pretty hard, right? But that's the scale we're working with in these new companies. And these are what we call AI exponentials. Every one of us has to be prepared to compete with these companies, because when you think about the $3 trillion of direct foreign investment that's coming into the US, it's for data centers, it's for distribution, it's for precision manufacturing, it's for energy, and a lot of these companies are going to be run completely automated. A lot of these companies are going to be dark factories. A lot of these companies are going to have that level of scale that we haven't seen before. It's 10x, 100x, and 1000x. Now, where are we on AI? How many people here did a POC in the last 2 years in AI? How many did it because the board asked you to? Okay, those were the ones that typically were interesting, didn't have an outcome, didn't get you there. So we went from having these interesting POCs a couple years ago, we got to budgets. Now we have this problem that we have is we don't have enough data. How did we get there? And at some point, we're gonna have to figure out what to do. And let me show you something real quick. So 85% accuracy in customer experience. Is that a good thing? That's okay. What about 85% accuracy in supply chain? Who thinks that's great? That's millions of dollars lost per minute. What about 85% accuracy in finance? Anyone want to sign up for that? Anybody want to go to jail? Okay, what about 85% accuracy in healthcare? Okay, not good enough. So what we have right now is LLMs are 85% accurate. But then the next 10% is sitting inside your organization. That's your ERP, that's your MES, that's your accounting system. That makes it 95% invaluable, and the last 5% is coming from other sources. Signals, demand, weather, information from consumers, social media, your feedbacks from customer satisfaction. We don't have enough data to get to a level of precision that our stakeholders are comfortable with. And that's why it's so important that you have an ERP that captures that information and insight, you pair it up with these LLMs, and you partner for other data. We are headed in that era. We know a lot about things like generative AI, which is interesting. And let's go through the history. Regular AI was 2 + 2 = 4 100% of the time. No questions asked. Generative AI was 2 + 2 = 4, maybe 95% of the time. Model drift, a little rag, don't know. But agentic AI is very useful to the business. It's 2 + 2 = 4. Now, what do you want to do with it? You take a reasoning engine and you take a business outcome and you put it together and you automate it. So think of every business process you have. How do we bring it together? How do we automate it to get to a decision? We are getting there. And the good news is there are standards that take us there. Those were A2A, MCP, a whole bunch of other standards that you'll see. So what are we doing? We are actually competing for decision velocity. You and I make a snap decision. How long does it take to get out of management committee? A day? A month? A year? Maybe never? We have to start by asking business questions that have an outcome on the back end. Do I add 5 more people in marketing, or do I add 5 more people in manufacturing? What's going to give me the return? You're starting to ask business questions. Then what we're trying to do is build feedback loops at speed and scale and answer those questions. And then what we want to do is deliver on a concept we call precision decisions. We want to start automating that process. And then finally, we want to compete on the most important concept. You've heard all day about the fact that we can get to speed. And what I want you to remember is this is a game of decision velocity. I'm not a bad chess player, but if I go up against a grandmaster, I will fail every time. I'm going to lose. But imagine that I get 2 moves or 3 moves for every move that the grand chess master has, that grandmaster in chess, I'm going to win. And that's what we're competing on, this notion of decision velocity. We start by taking all the data we have, we bring that into an area we can start analyzing it, we start asking the business questions, we then figure out how to automate that process, and then we put it together and add AI so that we have a business graph. And this graph gives us the knowledge, the information, the insight. And over time, it gets smarter and smarter with every interaction. And the goal here is really to go from transactions to action, which is what we talked about, and eventually what we're trying to get to is situational awareness, for these systems to think and work on their own. And there are 7 questions you have to ask in every single business process. Where do we start? Highly repetitive tasks. You don't really want to do those. You get bored, You know, they don't succeed. You want to get to that consistency. Lots of volume, another problem. Too much. Repetitive, lots of volume, massive nodes of interaction. You and I can multitask 2 or 3 things. We can't do 100 things. And then more importantly, things that actually require scale. Those are the ones that are going to machines and automation and AI. When it gets to complexity, it's a little bit different. There's some things that are so complicated we need machines to do the calculations. But on the flip side, there are some things that are so complicated we haven't even been able to model those in math. And that's where complexity comes into play. Creativity is another great example. You and I are really good at creating the rules, but we are even better at breaking the rules with the right incentives. And that's where innovation and creativity come into play. And then the last piece is really about sometimes you want a human touch, sometimes it's too dangerous to put a human there, and you'll decide to put a machine in its place. And our goal here is really a set of business outcomes we want to get to. First, tell me what is going on. Then you're like, oh wait, that's too much. Just give me a notification, give me an alert. Wait, if you can do that, maybe you can make recommendations for me. And then over time, we automate that, and once we automate that, we then have the ability to start making prediction, then prevention, and at some point, the situational awareness. Everybody remember the Samsung Galaxy Note 7? Why? Why do you remember that? It caught on fire? Yes, it did. That's a great point. Okay, imagine, and I'm giving you hypotheticals, but that recall, if that was an 8-week recall that cost $8 billion, it's only 80 phones. It's about 80 to 100 phones. That's 8 sigma in quality. If you can take that from 8 weeks to 1 week, that would have been a $1 billion recall. If you can take that from 1 week to 1 day, that would have been a $100 million recall. We think prevention is a great place. Regulatory compliance, quality is going to be one of those top areas you're going to see, along with finance and software development for all this agent stuff. And wherever you are, I want you to ask these 4 questions in every business process. When I do full intelligent automation, which happens today, when and where do I augment the machine with the human? And where do I augment the human with the machine? And then when do I go full human? Those are the 4 questions you ask. And the question really isn't when and where you actually automate. The design point is actually when and where do you insert a human in the process. Let me give you an example. I'm going to tell you I have an AI-based physician that is 85% accurate. And it's going to go up against your human physician. And given all you know is these 2 facts, how many people in the room would choose the AI-based physician? Raise your hands high. It's getting lonely. How many people would choose the human-based physician? I got all of you on the other end. Let me give you some more information. My AI-based physician is getting smarter with every interaction. In fact, it's learning with everyone's interaction and building collective knowledge. My human-based physician is 81% accurate, but in fact, it doesn't keep up with journals. It's not reading up the latest techniques. In fact, it's slowing down. Now, how many people here would take the AI-based physician now? Raise your hands. I got half the room. And how many people would say the human-based physician? And if I tell you that over time, my AI-based physician is going to get to about 95% accuracy, and the best my human-based physician is going to do is the 81%, how many people will take the human-based physician? Sorry, tricked it around you. How many people would take the AI-based physician? All right, I got more people here. Now, the answer isn't a false choice between the 2. If there's anything we learned is we're going to take the collective information from everyone and then have the human doctor make that final decision. And that's what we're going to see for the next 5 to 10 years. And I wanted to show you guys that. So where are we at the moment? We are augmenting. We're going to soon get to a point that we're going to accelerate processes to a point where humans can't scale. So it's going to go to automation. And over time, it's going to become agents. And then we're going to get to autonomous systems. That's the pathway. We are somewhere between 1 and 2 in a lot of areas. And in some cases, if you're in software and you're in tech and it's something very digitized, you're between 3 and 4. This is where we're going to see for the next 5 to 10 years. And the goal here isn't this architecture or any other architecture like this. The goal is decision automation and decision intelligence. We are going to get to the point where the ERP systems help you make better decisions, faster decisions, and importantly, decisions that you might have missed. And so when we think about returns, we think about return on transformational investment. There are 7 categories you can break projects in when you make the case. And it's anything from regulatory compliance, which is what you tell every CFO the project has to do with regulatory compliance, you'll get funding, to cost reductions. For every dollar invest, I'm going to save you 2 or 3, to revenue and growth. Of course, every dollar invest, we might make 2 or 3. There's maintenance that I have to do. There's operational efficiency. And of course, sometimes you're transforming your business completely in the business model and the company's brand. We break them into 7 areas, and that's what you make. The goal here is different. We are taking decision trees, and we are collapsing them, and we're trying to figure out where we insert a human. That's the simplest thing. Take your business processes, the highest repetitive, highest volume, and figure out where you do the automation. Well, no, figure out where you put a human in the process, not the automation. Now, where's that leading to? We've got a whole new class of companies. This is a book I need to write. I haven't written yet. It's about companies that use data to take to their advantage. Think about Uber. They were able to do dynamic pricing based on ML and AI so they can get different prices per rides, attract drivers. They're not getting any more drivers, but they're able to do ride batching, ride sharing, supply chain logistics in terms of where their fleet is. Look at Sam's Club. Have you ever been to a Sam's Club? The floors are really clean, aren't they? It's got an 81 to 82% gloss ratio. We're like, what's going on here? Maybe it's a 90% gloss ratio. Well, every time the sweeper goes by, anybody know what it's doing? It's capturing inventory of all the shelves. It's got cameras. And they run the automated sweepers like you would run a Zumba at home so that they can see inventory by hour in terms of what's stocked, what's not stocked. And they're able to use that to put it to work. Take Airbus. A long time ago, they used to lose a lot of deals to Boeing because Boeing had really specific information no one else had. They knew the cost per mile on every route. They knew the profit per mile on every route. And what Airbus did is they got together with all their airlines, all the engine manufacturers, and started sharing that supplier information. There are marketplaces for data. And we see 5 types of companies emerging in the future once you make it to this AI age, once you get it to digitization, because you can start taking unique data sets, you can take network models, you can take longitudinal sets, which is data over sets of time, you can build brand new data products when you combine data, and you can create those marketplaces. I'm gonna give you a quick example of one. It's about unique data sets. Anyone ever go to Topgolf? Yeah? It's a bowling alley for golfers, isn't it? You can drink, you can eat, you can hang out with friends. It's not even golfing anymore, right? So Callaway goes out and buys Topgolf. And I'm like, you read the press release, and it's like, better revenue per square feet, cross-sell, younger golfers. And you're like, why are they doing this? I call my friend over there and said, what's going on? And he reads me back the press release. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? This doesn't make any sense. And then it dawns on me. Callaway is getting a unique data set from Topgolf that they couldn't get anywhere else. Anybody want to take a guess at what they got? No, not customer data. No. Correlation of swing speeds may be. Beer with beer. Correlation of swing speeds with beer. That's a new data product. Actually, they have more data on shitty golf swings than anybody else. What can you do with really bad golf swing data? Make better clubs and better balls. And in fact, I call my friend up and I say, I think I know what you're doing. You're taking the data set and you're going to dump them in a few years. And they just sold them a year and a half ago. They have the best data set, training set that anyone else can get. And so ultimately, that's where we're going to. So let me give you with a quick few things. Number one, when and where do you insert a human? That's the question you have to ask. Assume full automation, but you insert a human for a reason. You insert a human because regulatory compliance, you're not there yet for the accuracy, you want a human touch, you want to actually change the level of service, that's when you insert a human. The second question is, can we operate at machine scale with humans? Short answer is yes, but we have to take breaks, we have to slow down, we have to think about the culture and the change and the transformation. And then, do we have enough data to get to a level of precision that our stakeholders will trust? Is 85% accuracy good enough? No. So how do we get to the last mile? We're going to partner for that data. And then the last thing you should know is, who do you sue when something goes wrong? Don't put it in the wild unless you're ready. Okay, couple other things real quick. Here's the future. We can vibe code your prototype at the speed of thought. What you saw today from QAD is something amazing. You're seeing the ability to actually visualize everything at once. Demos aren't demos anymore. Demos are prototypes ready to run. Our job in a world of AI is to connect the dots. How do we actually bring all the information and insights we have that's unwritten, that's not in an SOP, and bring it to life? And we can actually take that and apply our industry expertise on top of what we have today, and that's how we accelerate. Agentic AI, don't think about it as AI. Think about it as decision velocity. How would you get things faster, better, and cheaper? And then assume machine scale. We're building for humans, not machines. We're going to manage machines. We're the last generation of managers to only manage humans, but we have to remember that we are building for humans. We're ultimately on the other end. And then, of course, you too can become an AI exponential. So there you have it. Check it out. Think about decision velocity. That is our future. And of course, that's where manufacturing is headed in the future. Thank you so much.